Hey friends, it's Missy again. Thanks so much for stopping by today. I have a new layout and process video for Hip Kit Club, and I'm using the brand new 2019 July kits for this. And I went ahead and did a little bit of work before I started filming here. I used one of the July cut files, and I cut it on one of those really pretty Pink Fresh Studio papers, and I chose these two photos to scrap of my little page. These are from a few years ago, and I really love the light colors in the photos, and I thought that they would look really pretty with all of the pinks and oranges in the kits this month. And so I went ahead and cut that on. That is from one of the Just a Little Lovely papers that is from Pink Fresh Studio, and I thought it was really pretty. I love all those watercolor effects that we get in some of the papers this month. So I decided to go with a white background because I really wanted to keep this layout light. There's going to be lots of pinks, lots of oranges, and of course some blues because I have pool photos. I have to use some blues. So I went ahead and prepped my page with some clear gesso and let that dry. Okay, so I'm going to be using some Lindy's to start with. The darker blue color is the one that we get in this month's kit. The lighter turquoise blue was one that we got several months ago, and I'm going to try to mix and match a little bit of these to create that really pretty light pool blue color. So the one that we get this month is more of a really bold royal blue, so I didn't want to use too much of that because I wanted to keep it light, and I just sprayed it right onto the paper, added some water, and then you can see how easy this is. I'm just turning the page side to side, up and down, and just letting it run. My thought was to have the blue spot on the background be sort of just this nice big vertical splotch of blue. So I don't want to cover up the whole thing. I'm going to mix in a little bit of a shimmers color that we got, I think it was probably last year sometime. It's Coloring's Well Blew Me Down, and it's a really pretty aqua color. And then I dripped in a couple of drips of white acrylic paint, and I'm just continuing to swirl and blend. I'm going to use a wet brush here to kind of spread around some of the white paint, and it just adds some white spots, lightens some things up, because I like to have a variety of, lights and darks here and there, and a variety of colors. So this is another option if you want to spread your color around. I know we use the packaging technique a lot. This is just my very well loved and very stained small acrylic stamping block. It's another good option to use to spread paint around. So I thought I would try that. I'm going to use my brush. I use my fingers. I like all the techniques. It's just whatever suits me at the time. I'm going to continue to dip my brush in some water and then just kind of work around the edges here to kind of fade out the blue. I didn't really want any harsh edges, so this is where the gesso comes in handy, because the gesso will allow me to blend and smudge all this color before it dries. And even if it does dry, I can still activate it pretty quickly. Now here's a really cool effect. This is where I try to dry this a little bit. And if you pull out your heat gun and continue to turn the page, I turn it this way and that way and just tilt it while it's drying, you get another cool effect, I think, because it's going to dry, it's going to move, the heat is going to push the color around, and you just get some really cool spots on your little watercolor background there. And yeah, I'm even going to use my brush as I'm drying. So this is another tip for gesso. It's going to allow me to do this, and it's not going to soak right through the page. And later, after this is completely dry, I bring my brush out again, and I'm still able to blend some of the color around the edges. So yeah. All right, so that's mostly dry. I come back in with the aqua shimmers there and just add in some splatters, and then I decide to blend it in. And you can see here, even though I've added my heat gun to this, I'm still able to blend and smudge the color into the existing color there. And yeah, it's just an experiment. You have to just play around with things and see how it works, and you get different effects if you use different things. So this is just some more white acrylic paint. I thought I would add in some splatters. I'm using my brush there, and some of it's going to get blended around. I'm going to use some water to kind of help it along. And I love how that blue makes that paradise piece just pop. I always like to do my background in a different color. That way whatever else I'm using is going to show up really nicely. Okay, so I just could not resist fussy cutting out this cute little bird. This paper is from Webster's Pages, and this little bird is so, so cute. And I thought that it would be perfect for a tropical pool page. So my background's pretty much dry. I'm going to start to work on layering. I always like to add some white tissue paper behind my photos. It just gives them a little bit of a messy, subtle border around the edges there. And then I'm going to use some of the Pocket Life cards. I always like to use those either to fussy cut things out of or to use as layers. And in this case, I'm going to use a pink one and then a light, flowery, orangey yellow one as layers. And then I'm going to tear a bit of this paper. This is from Echo Park, and I love those pink and white stripes. I think they're so pretty, and they're the perfect color pink for this. So I'm using my little edge distresser there to ruffle up the edges a little bit, just to make them less perfect and to give them a little bit of character and, you know, a little bit of distressing. And then I definitely want to pop things up like I usually do, so I'm using some adhesive foam there to do that behind the photos. And I put the photo of her looking up to the left on the right side, so it looks like she is looking at something. And I'm gonna eventually here in a minute put some flowers there, so it will look like she's looking up at the flowers. I always like to have the people in my pictures situated on the page to where it looks like they're looking at something. So that's why I put, you know, the one where she's looking forward on the left and then the other one on the right. So these are some of the exclusive die cuts that we get this month. There's a huge pack of just flowers and leaves in beautiful colors. And so I just thought I would create a little cluster up there. And, you know, I haven't really glued anything down yet. This is just the play around phase where I bring things in and see how it looks. And if I like it, it'll stay there. And if I don't, I'll move it around. But I'm going to put the paradise piece kind of at an angle like you see there. And that little bird fits perfectly on the top of the P. And I like that the bird is looking in, so it looks like she's looking at the picture. So I'm going to keep playing around. I went ahead and pulled out things ahead of time that I thought would match. Oh yeah, I decided to trim off the white edges of the die cuts. For some reason, the white edges were just sticking out too much to me, and I don't know. I've been going through a phase lately where I don't want the white edges on die cuts, and so I just trim them off. I don't know what my problem is. I just like the way it looks without that white border. So I took some time off camera. It's really boring to watch, so that's why I didn't film it. But so all my die cuts match with no white border. And I thought that my title would be Paradise at Home, since our theme this week, or today, is to create a vacation layout using lots of pinks and yellows. And so this technically isn't a vacation layout, but with our girls in the pool, it's pretty much like a vacation, and they love it out there. And we've got all kinds of palm trees, and we always bring our little music box down, and so we kind of make it our own little paradise on the weekends. And so I thought that Paradise at Home would be a good title. And I love those white stickers or puffy stickers that we get from Pink Fresh Studio, and they're white, which is awesome. And I like how they fit just perfect underneath Paradise there. It's just enough space before it touches that flower. So I did create a couple of other little floral clusters there. And then I want to leave a lot of the blues showing. I don't want to cover up all that pretty background. I do want to add in some thread. This is a little bit of a darker aqua color, and I thought it would just make a nice little something, you know, having some texture underneath the photos there. And it's just going to be very barely visible underneath the paradise there, just sort of peeking out. And then I play around with some thread in other places, and I wind up moving it a few times. Just wasn't feeling it in a couple spots. I did want another pop of pink up there, and for now I put that bit of pink thread up there. And I do want to pop up these flowers, and so I cut up some small pieces of adhesive foam to put behind these flowers. And I think this just makes all the difference when you're able to add some dimension like that. I think it just makes it just sort of pop off the page, and I don't know, I like the shadowing that it creates. So now is when I'm going to start to glue things down. I like the way everything is, and I'm going to very carefully start to glue everything down. And I know someone's going to ask me, I am using the Scotch tacky glue in my fine liner bottle there, and honestly, I used to get it at Michael's all the time, and every time I go in there, I would say within the past year, I have not seen it. I don't know if they don't carry it anymore or if it's just my Michael's, but lately I have found it at Walmart. The bottle is a little bit smaller, but it is the same glue, and it's on the scrapbooking aisle where they have there's a little bit of glue section there. But yeah, I found it at Walmart, so that is my go-to glue, and it's the only glue that I've ever used in my very well-loved fine liner bottle there. It never dries out, it glues perfectly, and it never gets clogged. As long as you put the lid, or the little needle lid back on pretty quickly after you use it every time, it's not going to dry out. So I decided to use one of these One Canoe 2 rub-ons. This one's perfect. It says Hello Weekend, and I'm going to use it right there underneath At Home. And it was perfect because this was on a weekend. And these are almost like a really soft copper color. Very, very pretty and very different. And I love me some gold, and I do love some silver, but it was a nice change to get some copper ones. Thought those were really, really pretty. I decided to cut a couple more die cuts or some flowers, and so I add another small hot pink one up at the top and then another light pink one right there in the middle, and then I decided to make yet another little floral cluster down towards the bottom using some more of the exclusive flowers. I just love this burnt orangey yellow color. It's so pretty and different, and it goes so nicely with pink. I love me some pink, and when you mix it with some tropical colors, yes. So I play around with a couple of other little die cuts and little sentiment pieces. I did add some more thread down here. I like the way this looked here. This is some hot pink thread, and so I'm going to add that into that little floral cluster. And then this is some of the burnt orangey color. I can't believe I had a thread that matched that burnt orangey color, and I decided to stick it up here at the top behind that soft mint colored leaf. And then I had taken the pink out that I had put there earlier, and then I decided to put it back. I can't remember if I left it or if I take it out again. We will find out here in just a second. I'm gluing it down. Maybe it stays. Mystery of the thread. Who knows? So I decide now that the blue spot that's underneath At Home is going to be my best spot for journaling, and that's where I'm going to put journaling here in a second. I do cut up this little die cut that says Soaking Up the Rays, and I'm going to put it right here underneath this floral cluster on the left. I didn't want it to be one long sentiment. I wanted to kind of stack it so it stayed on the white part, so that's why I cut it up. And then off camera, I typed up some journaling strips, and then I'm going to glue those down here. I didn't want to use a black pen, and I didn't want to use a gold pen, and I felt like the white pen would be too much white, so I thought strips might look a little bit more organized here. So I just have 3 strips, and then I did add some gold. Anyway, there's the final layout. The gold that I added was the Minor 49er from Shimmers that we got a while back, but I love how this turned out. I know the colors look a lot brighter here in this final photo, and my lighting today when I made this layout, it was storming outside, and so when it's storming and there's not a lot of natural light, my light tends to look a little off, but I assure you these colors are beautiful in person, and I hope you've gotten your kits by now. Here's all the details. I hope that you get some ideas and that this inspires you in some way. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Hope you have a great week.